Canola School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Alberta Canola Producers Commission, Sask Canola, and Manitoba Canola Growers.
Joining us here at CropSphere in Saskatoon, we have Clint Jurke, Agronomy Director for the Canola Council of Canada. And Clint, over the years, there's been talk about Canada getting a Blackleg labeling system for canola varieties, similar to what they have in Australia.
Yeah.
Where are things at with this this initiative here in Canada?
Yeah, we've been working with seed companies and researchers and growers for quite a few years, about 4 years now, at trying to develop a system. And the industry is now at a point where they feel that we have enough diversity in our resistance that we can kind of develop a new resistance labeling system. So where we're at now is that all of the organizations have agreed in principle to an overall structure, and so we're just in the process now of kind of working out the finer details of that new resistance plan. So. We're expecting, we have canola registration meetings in about a month's time, so we're expecting that it should be shortly after that we'll have that plan nailed down, and when we actually see those labels start to apply, it'll be up to the seed companies themselves as to whether they'll have some for this year or next year, but imagine over the next few years we'll see it.
Okay, maybe we should take a step back and just explain how these labels will be used, or why this is potentially valuable for growers.
So what we've noticed, so we've come out of a period where Blackleg has not really been a problem, right from the early parts of the 2000s right up until roughly around 2010. So we had about a decade where Blackleg has been essentially a cosmetic disease. But in that period of time, the pathogen has been changing, and studies have shown that we have a lot of diversity within that pathogen population, which is not a good thing, because the more diversity the pathogen has, the more opportunities it has in order to overcome resistance. And so that's precisely what we've seen. So that in the last 5-7 years, that the Blackleg incidence rates in all prairie provinces has been trending upwards. And that's not a good news situation, because we know that there's a trade issue, and we know that this costs yield and farm cash receipts. And so getting Blackleg to go back down is one of our major objectives. And one of the centerpieces to doing that, in addition to a lot of the other strategies, is to have a new resistance label system that is quite similar to what the Australians are using, where we identify in particular what resistance genes are present in each canola variety, so that a grower knows that if he used like a resistance gene A last time he grew canola, next time he plants canola in that same field, just don't use the resistance group A, use something else like a B or C or D. And then that way you're always one step ahead of the pathogen. The pathogen, it takes time to overcome resistance, so if you keep changing that resistance, it's always following you rather than us getting behind and then losing to the pathogen. So that's what we want to try preventing as much as possible.
Okay, so what will these labels look like? You use the alphabet there. Is that how we're going to see?
Yeah. Roughly, that is what is currently on the table. So the label will have two components. One will be a major resistance gene label, so A, B, C, D, E type of thing, for different types of major resistance genes. Major resistance genes are those that essentially cut off the disease right and outright. Like, if that gene recognizes the pathogen is killed off, and there's no infection at all. It works really well. But it's in those situations where the resistance gene is not working, the pathogen has changed to overcome that resistance gene, we need to have a backup system, and that's what we call adult plant resistance or quantitative resistance. And we're developing a label for that as well, where it'll be a number rating, where it'll be like on a 1 to 9. I don't know if 1 is going to be good or 9 is going to be good. It'll be one of those two options. So when you buy a variety, it'll have like a 2 label system. It might be like an A9 or a B7 or something like that it'll tell you what the major resistance gene is and how much of that background quantitative or adult plant resistance is there as well. So.
What about some of these newer varieties that have multigenic resistance claims attached to them? How would they be labeled?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of confusion, I think, when it comes to multigenic resistance, because there's some groups that are using that term to refer to quantitative resistance. There's others groups that are using that term to refer to stacking a couple of major resistance genes, like you might have A, B, C in one variety. And there's others that are using it to refer to a stack of a major gene and quantitative resistance, both. So we'll have to sort that out a little bit, but if your question is referring to those that have multiple major resistance genes, you might buy a variety then that would be, variety X might have AB9 resistance, or it might be CF3 resistance or something like that. So if there are more than one major gene, it'll be denoted with that label as well.
Okay. So at this point, when this moves forward, growers won't necessarily know what species or what line they have in their soil. It's just that if something didn't work last year,
yes,
don't grow that again.
Yeah. So scouting is the step number one that all growers need to do, is because if you're looking in your field and you're not finding any blackleg at all, just keep doing what you're doing because it's working for you. But it's only in those situations where you're starting to see the blacklegs start to increase. Okay, now we got to start thinking about how can we get ahead of this pathogen and start rotating the types of resistance. So it's this new labeling system is just one component of an overall blackleg management strategy.
How far away are we from having a test that would tell you, though, directly what species of pathogen you have, so you could match it right away, I guess?
Really close. Yeah. In fact, Ag Canada Saskatoon's been working really hard on this over the last 5 years, where they've been developing DNA markers for all the different A virulence genes, or the pathogen races, essentially. So we're just in the process of now getting some of the testing labs to start using this new protocol. So whether we'll see it this year, but I'm confident by next year we'll definitely have that ability. And so that's the ultimate solution, that if you can just take in a couple pieces of old canola stubble residue, send that to a lab, and they'll tell you, okay, hey, you've got these A virulence genes, and so therefore you should be using this type of resistance that's going to work. That would be the ultimate solution for sure. But in the absence of not having that pathogen piece, you can always just look back that if I use resistance group A, chances are that the pathogen has been developing ammunition to overcome A. So now I got to go to a B or a C or a D. And so that's essentially what Australia has been using with a lot of success here over the last 5-6 years. So that is a strategy that can work quite well as well.
All right. Exciting developments, I guess, for blackleg in canola.
Yeah. Well, we really want to stay ahead of this disease. Like Canada, we've been in a kind of a really nice sweet spot with managing this disease for a number of years. So it'll be really good if we can kind of get back into that groove again. So this will help us.
All right. Thanks for your time again, Clint.
Right on. Take care.